They say success comes to those who wait, but that's only half the truth. The real triumph belongs to those who prepare while waiting. While others hesitate, wishing for a sign, the winners create their own. The fire that drives change doesn't spark in comfort. It ignites in persistence, in action, and in unwavering belief. Every day, we're surrounded by noise, people saying what can't be done, critics who measure you against their own limits. But here's the truth. Your journey doesn't have to fit into anyone's mold. Greatness was never built on approval. It was forged in silence, when no one was watching, when the only thing louder than doubt was your determination. There was a time when everything seemed uncertain. Doors closed, opportunities vanished, and it felt like the world was moving on without you. But that's when something shifted. That's when you realized that no one was going to hand you the life you dreamed of. You had to build it. You had to become it. So you started, quietly, relentlessly. You got up earlier, worked longer, sacrificed comfort for purpose. While others sought ease, you chose growth even when it was painful, especially when it was painful, because deep down, you knew that every step you took forward, no matter how small, was a step away from who you used to be. And yes, there were failures. Not once, not twice, but many times. You stumbled, you fell. There were moments when you questioned if the effort was worth it, if the dream was even yours to begin with. But even in those low moments, something inside you refused to give up. Not because you knew how it would work out, but because you couldn't accept the idea of staying where you were. This wasn't about proving anything to the world. It was about proving something to yourself, that you could keep going, that you had what it took. That despite the setbacks, despite the disappointments, you were still standing, you were still moving. Because strength isn't measured in the absence of struggle, it's revealed through it. The pain, the grind, the exhaustion, they weren't signs of weakness. They were the proof that you were alive, that you were fighting, that you were in it for the long haul. And with time, things began to shift. Slowly at first, a small win here, a breakthrough there. It wasn't overnight, and it wasn't easy, but the path became clearer. Not because the world changed, but because you changed. You stopped waiting for the right moment and started creating it. You stopped asking for permission and started taking the lead. But just when things felt like they were finally moving, a new challenge arrived. One bigger than before. One that threatened to unravel everything you had built so far. It made you pause. It made you reflect. Were you ready for this? Could you rise to this new height? Could you face the fear of outgrowing your comfort zone? This is where most people retreat. Not because they aren't capable, but because they don't believe they are. The fear of failure becomes louder than the desire to succeed. But you are not most people. You've come too far. You've sacrificed too much. You didn't walk this road to turn back now. So you breathe. You look at the mountain in front of you and remind yourself of the valleys you've already crossed. You remember that growth doesn't feel like glory, it feels like resistance. It feels like discomfort. It feels like pushing through even when everything in you says stop. But you don't stop. You dig deeper. You trust the process. You trust yourself. Because every challenge is an invitation to rise, to expand, to become the version of yourself you haven't met yet. And though the road is rough and the path unclear, you keep going, because that's what you were made for. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning of something greater. The beginning of something greater never looks like greatness. It looks like repetition. It looks like waking up every morning before the world, grinding when no one sees you, and showing up when motivation fades. It looks like choosing discipline over excuses, again and again and again. And that's where most people miss it. They expect transformation to feel dramatic, to look like fireworks. But real change, it's quiet, it's messy. It happens in the lonely hours, when you're fighting battles no one claps for. When you show up, not because you feel like it, but because your vision is bigger than your feelings. You've walked that road. You felt that silence. And in that silence, you discovered the truth. Motivation will get you started, but purpose keeps you going. When the excitement fades and the work gets heavy, it's purpose that drags you out of bed. It's purpose that reminds you why you began in the first place. And your purpose wasn't just about achieving a goal. It was about becoming someone resilient, someone unshakable. You were chasing a dream. You were becoming the kind of person who could handle that dream, who could live it, carry it, and grow through it. But as you stepped forward, the path got harder. Life didn't open the door and welcome you in. It tested you. It threw obstacles in your way. Doubt whispered louder. The climb grew steeper, and every part of you wanted to rest, to ease up, to compromise. That was the moment the challenge became real, because this wasn't just about external obstacles anymore. It became a battle within, a war between who you've been and who you're becoming. And the old version of you, the one that craved comfort, feared failure, played it safe, it didn't want to let go. But you didn't come this far to stay the same. You didn't invest all this time and energy to go back to average. You knew deep down that if you were going to rise, the old version of you had to fall away. And that doesn't happen gently. It happens through fire, through friction, through pressure. Pressure that forced you to focus, friction that made you stronger. Fire that burned away the excuses, the distractions, the fear. Every hardship wasn't holding you back, it was shaping you, breaking you open so that something greater could emerge. And something did emerge, a deeper level of hunger, a new level of resilience. You started seeing problems as puzzles, setbacks as setups, and losses lessons. You began to understand that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. A necessary step, a tool for growth. Because every time you fell, you learned. Every time you struggled, you grew. And through every difficult season, you built something no one could take from you: belief. Not just belief in the outcome, but belief in yourself, that you could survive the storm, that you could rebuild from the rubble, that no matter how many times life tried to knock you down, you'd rise again. And rise you did. Not because things got easier, but because you got stronger, you got sharper, more focused, more intentional. You stopped wasting energy on things that didn't matter and started pouring everything you had into what did. You let go of comparisons, of waiting for validation. You stopped measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. You realized your journey was your own and that no one could define your limits but you. But just as you were starting to rise into that next level, the weight of your growth began to press back. Suddenly, the expectations grew, the pressure to keep winning, the fear of slipping up, the voices telling you that maybe you got lucky, that maybe this success wasn't sustainable. This is the hidden challenge. Most don't see the pressure of progress, the fear of losing momentum. It creeps in quietly, convincing you to play it safe, to protect what you've built instead of building further. But that's not who you are. You didn't climb this far just to hold on. You're not here to maintain. You're here to evolve, to push past limits, to explore how far you can go, how much you can give, how strong you can become. This part of the journey isn't about catching your breath. It's about expanding your capacity. It's about proving that the same fire that got you started still burns in you, that no matter how far you've come, your hunger hasn't faded, that the higher you climb, the harder you're willing to work. You don't fear the challenge anymore. You welcome it. You see every obstacle not as a wall, but as a test of your commitment, your endurance, your faith, and you rise to meet it. Not because it's easy, but because you were built for it. The climb is not over. There is still more within you, a deeper strength, a higher calling, and the next level of your journey is waiting. The next level of your journey doesn't begin when everything feels perfect. It begins when everything feels uncertain and you show up anyway. when fear knocks and you open the door with faith. When you're not sure how you'll figure it out, but you step forward anyway, because quitting is no longer an option. This is the stretch, the season where the pressure intensifies, the demands increase, and the stakes feel higher than ever. And yet, this is exactly where transformation happens. Not on the easy days, but in the moments when you feel overwhelmed and keep pushing anyway. When you face resistance and use it to rise. When you feel like breaking and decide to break through instead. You've been tested before. You've battled through the doubts, through the days when nothing seemed to work. And every single time, you got back up, stronger, smarter, hungrier, because something inside you refuses to settle. Something inside you keeps whispering, there's more, and there is more within you, more to give, more to become. A fire in your soul wasn't lit to keep you warm. It was lit to keep you moving. It was lit to remind you that greatness isn't a destination. It's a mindset, a lifestyle, a relentless pursuit of what you were meant to do and who you were meant to be. But as you rise, so do the doubts. The whispers in your mind that question your progress, that remind you of past failures, that try to convince you you've gone far enough, that maybe you've peaked, that maybe playing it safe wouldn't be so bad after all. Ignore them. Those voices are not truth. They're echoes of your old self, trying to pull you back into comfort. But you've outgrown that version. You've stepped into a new identity, one rooted in perseverance, vision, and unshakable belief. And you're no longer fueled by fear. You're powered by purpose. So now you lean in, you embrace the struggle not as a setback, but as a sign you're on the edge of something bigger. You let the discomfort fuel your determination. You let the challenges sharpen your focus, because pressure creates diamonds and you're in the refining stage. Still, it's not easy. There are days when you feel invisible, days when the world seems to ignore the progress you've made. When it feels like no one notices the effort, the sacrifices, the hours, but that's not why you do it. You don't show up for applause, you show up because it's who you are. Consistency in the dark leads to recognition in the light. And while it may feel like nothing's changing, everything is. Every rep, every early morning, every hard choice, every moment you choose growth over comfort, it's building something inside you, around you. And soon, the results will speak for themselves. But even results aren't the reward. The reward is the becoming, the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you didn't quit, the pride that comes from showing up even when it was hard, the strength that comes from standing tall in the storm. You are not who you are. You stepped into a new chapter, and with it comes a new responsibility to lead, not just others, but yourself. To lead with vision, with courage, with relentless drive. Because the next phase of your journey isn't just about effort. It's about strategy, focus, precision. No more wasted energy, no more distractions. You don't have time to entertain doubt, not anymore. You're too far in. You've seen what happens when you commit fully. You've experienced the growth that follows relentless consistency. And now you have the opportunity to scale higher, but only if you keep your eyes on what matters. You will be tempted to slow down, to coast, to protect what you've already built. But this is not a time to preserve. This is a time to expand, to pour more into the process, to stretch further, to believe harder. Because the moment you stop growing, you start shrinking, and that's not who you are. You are a builder, a visionary, a force, and everything you've endured has prepared you for what's ahead. Every setback strengthened your resolve. Every failure taught you the lessons you needed. Every sleepless night trained your discipline. And now you are equipped for the climb ahead. Still, this next level comes with its own set of challenges. Higher mountains, sharper turns, greater expectations, and yes, more fear. But Fear is a sign you're headed in the right direction. If it doesn't scare you, it's not stretching you. And you didn't come here to stay small. You're not chasing comfort, you're chasing capacity. You want to see how far you can go, how deep you can dig, how powerful you can become. Because deep down, you know you were made for this. And while others may doubt you, count you out, or try to limit you, none of that matters. Their voices are irrelevant because you've already decided, you've already committed. You've already burned the bridges behind you and made it clear. There is no going back. This is your moment to rise, to own your path, to command your future. Commanding your future isn't about knowing every step. It's about trusting yourself enough to take the next one. It's not showing up, not because the path is easy, but because the purpose is worth it. Because deep within, you've already made the choice. No more backing down, no more shrinking, no more silence. You've walked too far to question your direction now. The road behind is paved with lessons, with scars that turn it into strength, with mistakes that became the foundation of your wisdom. Every struggle you endured taught you something no book or lecture ever could. It taught you who you are when everything is on the line. And who you are is relentless. You don't stop when it's hard. You don't fold when it's uncertain. You don't retreat when it's lonely. You move, you build, you keep climbing. Because there's a fire in your spirit that won't let you sit still, a calling that won't let you settle, a vision that refuses to fade. And then right now, you're in the middle of it, the pressure, the hustle, the stretch. Some days it feels like too much, like the weight on your shoulders is growing heavier with each new step. But you've carried more than this before. You've walked through storms that tried to drown you. You faced moments that nearly broke you, and you're still here, still rising. That means something. It means you are not defined by the things that happen to you. You are defined by what you do about them, by how you respond, how you row, how you rise from every hit. Or if you've come this far, there is nothing that can stop you now unless you stop yourself. You are not finished. You are just getting started. Life is not waiting for someone perfect. It's waiting for someone real. Someone who knows how to fall and still stand tall. Someone who leads not with titles, but with example. Someone who lives the truth they preach, who fights the battles they don't post, who keeps going even when no one is watching. You've become that someone. And now with all that you've gained, with all the strength you've earned, comes the question, what will you do with it? Will you keep rising? Will you stretch even further? Will you risk stepping into the unknown again? Not because you have to, but because you choose to. Because the dream isn't a destination, it's a journey. And that journey demands growth, sacrifice, evolution. It demands you keep showing up, not just for results, but for the person you're becoming along the way. So you keep pressing forward, even when it's heavy, even when it's unclear. You trust that your effort has meaning, that your pain has purpose, and that your discipline will take you places talent alone never could. You start to move with power, not the loud kind, but the deep kind. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it's already known. It's in your posture, in your choices, in the way you carry yourself, even when no one's looking. You're no longer trying to prove yourself. You're living your truth. You've already done what most won't. You've endured, you've improved, and you've kept your vision alive when others would have let it die. And as the road stretches out before you, one thing becomes clear. It's not just about what you achieve. It's about what you inspire, because your story, your fight, your rise, it matters. It matters to the person watching from the sidelines, wondering if it's possible. It matters to the person just beginning, wondering if they have what it takes. Your courage becomes their compass. Your resilience becomes their reason. And that is the true power of this journey. It doesn't end with you. It creates ripples. It sparks change. It opens doors not just for yourself, but for those who come after. So rise, not just for you, but for everyone who needs to see what's possible when you refuse to give up, when you refuse to settle, when you choose growth over fear, discipline over doubt, purpose over comfort. This is your time. This is your fight. And no matter what lies ahead, you will face it. You will overcome it, and you will rise beyond it. Because that's what you're made for.